Hi everyone, I am so excited for today's Friday of the Making Dad Summit, and I am beside myself to have Dr. John Gray here with us, and of course Sarah, my co-host. And before we get into our conversation, I would just like to take this moment and once again thank Fairfax Cryobank for being the sponsor of this summit, because we felt this conversation was so important and so needed that we are so grateful for their generosity. And in case you didn't know, Fairfax Cryobank is the world's largest sperm bank, offering anonymous and ID option sperm donation, as well as storage service for sperm, embryos, and oocytes, which are eggs. And you can find out more about Fairfax Cryobank at their website, which is fairfaxcryobank.com. So welcome, John Gray and Dr. John Gray and Sarah, and I'm so thrilled just to have this time with you. So thank you.
So awesome. Today we're really focusing on relationships, and who better to have with us than Dr. John Gray, who is best known for his amazing seminal work, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Dr. Gray has his training in psychology and is really a pioneer in gender communication. He's gone on to produce other works talking about men and women in the workplace. What's the name of that book again? It's Work with Me. There it is. Work with Me. 8 blind spots for men and women in business, which I think is a critical with all the recent works about women and men in leadership, and I think it's critical to have those discussions. And more recently, he's been getting into underlying health and nutritional factors that contribute to relationship dialogue, and really diving into how does nutrition impact hormones, and how do hormones impact psychology and relationship, if I've gotten that right. And his new book is Staying Focused in the Hyper World, Natural Solutions for ADHD. So you're really spreading out and getting super holistic about how the whole body integrates with these communication topics. So I'm bubbling with questions to understand. So maybe you could just give us a snapshot of what you've been doing recently.
Well, I'm really excited to be talking at this summit, because the same issues that are plaguing our children today, which is called ADHD, hypersensitive, hyper-distracted, hyperactive, hypercompulsive. This is becoming a big, big issue. And I went into the issue because 15 years ago I was experiencing early-stage Parkinson's and found natural solution for it. But when I started providing the right supplementation to reverse my Parkinson's, which I've now done for many people as well, it also reversed something I didn't even know I had, which is symptoms of ADHD. I found that there were immediate improvements in my ability to communicate with my wife. She noticed it. She said, "You're not rushing me. You seem to be more relaxed, more present. You're naturally more interested." I mean, it was amazing. It affected my sex life, improved the passion in it, and it all had to do with improving dopamine function in the brain. Now, dopamine is the brain chemical of pleasure, focus, motivation, and interest. Now, here's what's interesting when it comes to fertility, so I'm really excited to do this show, is that much of the research on fertility shows there's a hormone called prolactin that's very high when there's infertility. When there's high prolactin, and that's usually after sex with somebody you love, prolactin goes really high so that you don't want to have sex right away with somebody else. So this is a natural mechanism that happens with married men. Married men, because you're having sex with people you love, you'll tend to have higher prolactin levels and lower testosterone levels. That is a challenge for people who want to be fertile if they go too low testosterone, too high prolactin. And the research shows that what lowers prolactin and raises the testosterone back to normal so you can now create a healthy sperm count is dopamine. And dopamine is this big factor that we're all being affected by it. You know, women sometimes being affected by inhibited dopamine function is they become overwhelmed with too much to do. That's how it affects women. The way it affects men is different. It tends to lower their testosterone so that men lose their interest in their family, in their relationship. They love their partner, they love their relationship, but the passion tends to go down. And for younger men, it shows up as an inability to make a commitment. So, and for older men, it shows up as dementia, and for children, it shows up as ADHD. It's this phenomena that's happening, and you can say a big part of it has to do with I put up one challenge, which is dopamine. That is then affected by this whole hormonal imbalance that we're experiencing today, the toxicity causing excess estrogen, which lowers testosterone in men, lowers progesterone in women. And once again, this all influences fertility tremendously.
So my first question to you would be, is it, if we're talking about a person being mind, body, and soul, and of course what you eat, is there a great correlation between what we're eating as a society and this chemical mix-up of what's happening?
It's so connected. It's unbelievable. You know, I spent 40 years of my life as a marriage counselor. I still marriage counsel, as well as do health, supporting people with health. I just see, you know, we often, when we say somebody has a health problem, we're thinking, oh, they have cancer, they have heart disease, or they have diabetes, or they have a flu or a cold. Well, there's a much wider range of challenges to our health, which I would say is libido, which is sperm count, which is testosterone levels, which is feeling passion in your relationship, staying focused and interested in your work, having energy, sleeping better. These are all the aspects of health. And if we don't have that together, then what we have is the opposite, which is stress. And we also know that high stress levels are going to influence our sperm count as well. And what I found is the bottom line is we have toxicity. And toxicity, ironically, when it comes to sperm count, you go to Italy, it's the lowest in the world, or one of the lowest in the world. I can't keep up on it all. But it's, you know, and I go to Italy and I go, what could it be? What could it be? And, you know, it's a hot climate. And what happens is it's one of the highest places in the world where they use plastic bottles. And we've proven, there's research proven that if you have high plastics has PCBs in it, I think that's what it's called, or PS, whatever they are, but the plastic gets into your system, and men who have high amounts of that have 4 times lower sperm counts. So the greatest challenges in this are also these modern countries where we're using plastic bottles. And so once again, it's not just that which is causing it. That causes, it's called an endocrine disruptor.
Right.
That disrupts the normal balance of hormones. Now the good news is, and I've been promoting these ideas for about 15 years because they all tie hand in hand with the whole focus thing and staying interested in passion in your marriage, keeping your testosterone levels up. There's tremendous research showing sperm count increases when you naturally raise testosterone. I'm not talking about taking testosterone. I'm not a big fan of that personally. But it's what can you do to help your body make more testosterone? And there's there's lots of things to do, okay? But some of the easiest ways is some herbs to get the body back into the mode of making testosterone. And the most powerful one that will increase it 4 times more, has proven increased sperm count within a few weeks, is Tongkat Ali. Now, Tongkat Ali is actually an 800 different libido products online. Okay, so it's really widespread. Men caught on to this one. It's also called Long Jack. It's very effective. It's very natural, and there's a lot of herbs that increase testosterone, but nothing as powerful as this. And also in my own experience of working with men over 15 years on this condition, it's a simple fix. It's good. It's really all herbs work through different pathways, and the pathway that Tongkat Ali works through, it's an herb like a potato that grows under the ground from Thailand. And the pathway it works is it interferes with the body converting testosterone into estrogen. See, the problem for men is they start converting testosterone into estrogen, and that's due to endocrine disruptors, which is all the toxicity in our environment. The body responds to that as if it's estrogen. So now suddenly men are like, their body thinks there's high estrogen, which will lower his testosterone. And the pituitary gland, when you have high estrogen, it will convert your testosterone as a man into more estrogen. This is like a terrible thing that happens when men are under high stress. Their testosterone will convert into estrogen. Most people don't know this, but when men are like, they often say when men are like, now this is a little off the subject, but it's an important point, the violence that we see that comes from men sometimes, they always think that's high testosterone, but it's not. We've misunderstood testosterone completely, and studies at Stanford have backed me up on this now. There's whole books written on it now, because everybody was wrong about testosterone as being the hormone of aggression. Actually, testosterone increases assertiveness, a faster reaction time, but when you feel threatened, testosterone converts into the female hormone estrogen. And that's when men become flooded with anger and fear. So when men have strong emotions, it's their estrogen, their female hormones are increasing. And also, that's a function of higher stress in men, is stress converts testosterone into estrogen. So we have to find practical ways to lower stress. And of course, the ultimate way to lower stress is good communication, better relationship skills, lifestyle changes. But also, nutritional supplementation is essential, because if you're under chronic stress, you deplete your body, you deplete your adrenal gland of very important nutrients that we need to resupply in order for the body to reestablish hormonal balance. So this is such important information, and the great news about it, it doesn't have to be too complicated. People can do it themselves. There's no side effects of the things that I recommend. These protocols are all natural, but they are a step beyond just good diet. Now, I completely believe in good diet. I just don't think it's enough these days for most people to get the nutrients that they need, and also to counteract the bad influences of processed foods, toxic foods.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, because I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what through listening to what you're saying is that there's such a different caliber of our food system. So even if you are eating organic greens and watching what you're eating and you know being very mindful of that, there's still deficiencies in the food system that we're not getting enough of the nutritions. And unless that's just my understanding and the way I go about preparing our daily food intake, knowing that that is not meeting what we need.
It's the first step, is we need to clean up our diet, but it's not going to be enough to correct these situations. And it may not even be enough to even maintain health today. We need extra nutrition. The food just doesn't have it. The amount of mineral content in our food is dramatically dropped. Just that slows down all of the enzyme activities in the body. Vitamin C is so necessary as an antioxidant to counteract simply the air we breathe, which is toxic, filled with toxicity. The water we drink has these toxins in it, and fluoride even is experienced by the body as a xenoestrogen. So suddenly that's an endocrine disruptor. So they're all over the place. And when you talk about this, I mean, I wrote a whole book with pages and pages and references on this, but I have to stop at a certain point and say, it scares you, and you go, what can I eat? What can I do? We have to remember the body is this amazing, adaptable being. Our body can handle a lot. We just need to help it, and we need to not try to make it worse. There's certain things you just can't. You're going to be exposed to. But you look at like Italy, where the sperm count is dramatically gone so down. What's going on, and what has changed? It's not just the quality of our relationships. It's not just the stress. It's toxicity. And it's these xenoestrogens that are in our water, it's in our air, it's in our bodies, it's in the plastic bottles that we drink from, and we think we're doing something good for ourselves by going and getting bottled water. But if it's not a glass bottle, it's not good for you. And what you can do is get, how to simplify that? We have a water purifier at house, a bit more sophisticated than a Brita. My friends have these Brita purifiers, and they taste like chlorine to me. Chlorine is pure. It's an oxidizer. It's the opposite of an antioxidant, and we're drinking it all the time. And so people have to take the chlorine out of the water. So that's why bottled water was an improvement. But now we're throwing in the PCBs, and, the plastics, which is disastrous. They found in some cities where in some areas where there's more PCBs, they found that the male frogs have female genitals. They don't even have their penises their balls haven't even dropped. I mean, this is all about hormonal imbalance, high estrogen levels, and we see this from pesticides. And you can try to eat organic and whatever, but ironically, it gets into the food system, it's in the water system, it's in the water you get from the tap. It's all around us. So people have to, they have to recognize, okay, we've been exposed to all this. To solve the problem, we need to recognize part of the solution is cleansing, helping the body to cleanse. I highly recommend people to go on 1-day fast or 2-day fast where they're drinking aloe vera, water, and lemon. These are all helping to purify the body. There could be other cleansing programs as well. I have many suggested protocols that I have for cleansing the body. Then there's people that, I just can't do that. I can't do that. My wife's that way. She doesn't want to just go on a water fast. So she'll just go on really organic vegetables for a few days or a few weeks and leave out anything that might have toxicity. That's a good cleanse. My favorite of all things to recommend is a product that was produced. It's from China. Dr. Chi is his name. It's called Myomin. And it has 3 traditional Chinese herbs combined together. And it is proven increased sperm content in men. It raises testosterone. It lowers estrogen. It metabolizes estrogen. It inhibits the aromatase enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen. So these are, again, the natural herbs. For men, the basics of this is Tongkat Ali, a good quality Tongkat Ali, and a good quality Myomin, and combining together. And those protocols I put in, make available on my website for people. I explain all these things in great detail. I know I'm covering a lot of information, but I would never recommend anything people take without fully understanding what they're taking and why they're taking it. And that's why I educate people. This is something we can all understand. It's not so complicated, but I know how overwhelming it is when you go into a health food store and you think, okay, what are some natural supplements I can take? There's so many, there's so much, and you kind of go, wow, what do you do? And then you're going to ask the person there who's probably working at a minimum wage job and doesn't know that much. Maybe there's some experts in there, but I doubt that many. So it's good to have real education. So I've committed myself to educating basically all the good stuff that you could find, which is non-prescription, non-side effect, all natural, and showing studies that prove their benefits. One other major...
I have a question. So, and sorry to interrupt you again. And so we're having conversation with men who are really in throughout the current conversation, it's really like they're either shot or bleeding before they go to a doctor, right? And it's a systemic way of teaching men self-care, right? That it's not on. They're not taught, okay, once you're done with a pediatrician, then you really need to look at your wholeness and have checkups and all these things. So from a point of view of being a study of communication, what is a way of opening up a man that can hear what you're saying, can hear not only, okay, we want you to take this leap of being self-caring in a different way, and bringing in mindfulness of what you're eating and how to support your system. What's a way, if you're a woman or a partner of a man, how can you encourage this in a way that there's an opening to hear it?
I've been asked this question for 20 years or 30 years ago. The medical groups would come to me and say, oh, you're a communication expert. How do we get men to see doctors? Women flood to the doctor. It's kind of like the old saying from Men Are From Mars, men don't ask for directions. The truth is men do, but they first have to look within themselves. It's a quality of testosterone, which is self-help. I'm going to do it myself. The quality of estrogen is let's do it together. I'm going to depend upon you. So the truth is, when a woman is in a relationship, whatever it be, where a business or doctor or dentist or husband or child, whenever a woman can feel I can depend on you for help, it raises her estrogen, and it also increases oxytocin, and oxytocin lowers her stress. Now, oxytocin doesn't lower stress in men, so looking for help doesn't lower a man's stress automatically. What lowers a man's stress when a man is stressed is testosterone. And testosterone says, I can do it myself. I can do it myself. So here you are talking to a man, and actually at my website where I have over 100 videos on health.
I know. I love them.
Men love short. Give me the points. Don't expand on it. And give me, tell me why, and give me the cause, give me the solution, give me the goal, and get to the point. And men need education on it, and then they'll do it themselves. And if they do it themselves and they see they still need help, then they'll ask for help. But we're just not educated today. That's the sad truth. And any man reading, I mean, today one of the biggest frustrations for doctors is doctors used to be able to say, here's your prescription, do it. Now people say, well, what about that? What side effect does that have? And what about this? And what about this most recent study? And many people today know more than their doctors about the most recent research, because he learned research 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Every month there's new research. There's a big study now on fertility, since that's our topic, on vitamin D. Every man who is infertile is vitamin D deficient, and that vitamin D3 supplements or lots of sunshine can help with that. But what you'll find as well is you go to Italy, where there's lots of sunshine, people have plenty of vitamin D, but they're having infertility. So what's happening there? Well, it turns out that it's not just vitamin D. It's vitamin D in America, where people are indoors all the time, but in Italy they're not. With vitamin D, you also have to have vitamin K. Yeah. Vitamin K2 is so important. Now, that's something most people haven't even heard about. It's like this miraculous vitamin that we've missed for the last 100 years since we've been understanding vitamins. Vitamin K2 is so very important, and it works along with for regulating calcium in the body. Like women with osteoporosis, they all have vitamin K2 deficiency. It's not calcium deficiency. Calcium's not being regulated by vitamin K2. Anybody who's depressed or stressed is deficient in vitamin K2. Vitamin K2 turns out to be this super vitamin, which is why it's good to eat your greens. Kale and all your greens, they're rich in vitamin K2. But there's substances that can give you a lot of vitamin K2, because the kale today doesn't have that much anymore. You can't get that many vitamins from your food like we used to be able to do, although we should try. I'm not against that. But there's great supplements now. It's very simple. If you're going to take vitamin D3, you need to take vitamin K2. Often people are saying, oh, be afraid of taking too much vitamin D. You could take too much. And it turns out that you can't. Now, I know some people don't know this yet. They're going to go, what are you talking about? But high vitamin D has terrible side effects because it depletes you of vitamin K2. So it's the depletion of vitamin K2 that causes the side effects, not the vitamin D. Vitamin D, I mean, you get 50,000 IUs from an hour in the sun. So what's the problem there? It's just that when your body utilizes vitamin D, for 3,000 genes in your body depend upon vitamin D for function. It's the super vitamin today. Every year they say you should take more and more. Now, I know doctors who've been, these are the guys who started 50 years ago learning this stuff. I study with them. One guy I know has been taking 50,000 IUs of vitamin D. He's 90 years old now. He's completely healthy. He says, this is nonsense, but you have to make sure you're getting the other vitamins if you're running at a state of peak performance, which will happen with vitamin D, the super vitamin. You need to have vitamin K2, and guess what happens not only with fertility is you've got to have vitamin A. These three vitamins all work together. So if your vitamin D is working, then you can deplete of K2 if you don't have enough K2. And if you're running vitamin D and vitamin K2, you also need vitamin A. Now, vitamin A is necessary to make sperm. So basically, we need all these vitamins. So we're back to everybody needs really good vitamin supplementation. And according to your symptom, you need to activate higher levels I think as a minimum vitamin D for 6 months for everybody, I would do it the rest of my life, is 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 is the general recommendation for alternative holistic doctors, along with 300 micrograms to 500 micrograms of K2 a day. If there's serious complications, can be 500 micrograms to 100 to 1,000 micrograms. That's 1 milligram of vitamin K2 a day. And this is what the body requires, along with supplementation vitamin A. So that's like,
John, to find out if you're vitamin D deficient is a simple blood test, correct?
Yeah, even a saliva, a little pinprick. You go online, you find the companies that do it. There's a few companies do it. You do a pinprick. You put your little blood drop in there, and a week later they send you your results. You get to see it, and your results should be, they say between 30 and 70. They should be around 100. And more alternative researchers are saying it should be above 100 to 160. It's just nobody can deal with over 100, because if you have over 100, you're generally going to be vitamin K2 deficient and have side effects because you're deficient in K2. But your body needs at least 100 on the test. And most Americans are around 30. They're deficient. And if you're infertile, you tend to be down in that 30 to 50 category. You need to get up to 100. And in my opinion, you go way beyond that, make sure you're taking enough vitamin K2. You're not going to have symptoms. Any side effects, you'll get immediate benefits. This is for most of the things that ail us today. More and more doctors, researchers are saying it has to do with vitamin D. Now let me take it one step further, and this is the most exciting research. The last year has been my focus on this. It's only been highly researched in the last 2 years, which is the particular probiotics that activate vitamin D. So we know vitamin D function is so important for everything. Now, what if you have vitamin D, but your vitamin D isn't working? Well, there's something called vitamin D binding protein. That means if you're not digesting your proteins properly and you don't have all the gut bacteria, which is called the microbiome in your gut, right, if that has been displaced by antibiotics, GMO foods, vaccinations, and even chlorine and fluoride will kill good bacteria in your gut. So those types of things start wiping out what's called the gut flora, the gut bacteria, which has been evolved over thousands of years, and we get it from our mother. So if she had antibiotics, if her mother had antibiotics, gradually we're losing some of these essential microorganisms that have taken thousands of years of evolution to develop to digest our food properly. And what they found is that unless you have a complete microbiome or fairly healthy microbiome, your body doesn't make a particular protein, which is called vitamin D binding protein. So if you can't make that protein, you can take all the vitamin D in the world, it's not going to help you. That's why for some people, if you take vitamin D3, it helps, and for other people, it doesn't. And you wonder, why didn't it? Well, the body is you got a lot of pieces. It's a puzzle. And you want to put the pieces together as best you can, and that's why we need awareness of what options are there, and to be able to go, okay, is this working for me? And my system that I recommend to people, the protocols I recommend, I only recommend them over I had a wellness center for 10 years where I tested these things out, and now I just go around teaching it. But the protocols work within days, if not weeks. It's not like I'm going to do this for 6 months and wonder if it helped me. You should experience these benefits I talked about before, which was your sperm count would go up, your testosterone level would go up. How would you know your testosterone level went up, by the way? If you're a man, you start having erections every morning. Every morning you wake up with an erection. That means you have healthy testosterone. You can go and get a test on it. Certainly you can do that. If you test it at different times in the day, you'll get different results. The symptom is, the real thing is, are you feeling great? Are you feeling energized? Is your libido there? Are you feeling relaxed? Are you sleeping well in the night? Are you staying in bed all night? You close your eyes and wake up in the morning feeling bright. These are the symptoms that people will start to have sometimes by just adding a missing piece. There's one study showed just high doses of vitamin C increased sperm count. Okay, high doses of vitamin C is amazing. Now, what I'd say about vitamin C, again, you have to educate yourself on these things. It's not a lot of information at once. It's little pieces, little pieces. But vitamin C, you don't take 2,000 milligrams at once. Your body can't handle that. It'll just pee right through. So you do 250 4 times a day, or you do 500 twice a day, you'll get a better result. And now we go into the future of alternative health and so forth. What we're looking at is new types of vitamins, which people can check out, which are called liposomes. That means you take your vitamin C and you combine it with a fat, choline, which is what the brain is made out of, and it becomes fat soluble, and it doesn't leave your body, and your body can assimilate it much more efficiently. This is called liposomal vitamin C, liposomal vitamin D, liposomal curcumin. All kinds of wonderful liposomals are available to people. But to keep it simple, if I was a guy listening to this, I just want to bring it down to level. What can I do about this?
That, like, bring it down to something that they can, a listener can do right away.
Yeah, listen, right away. For a guy, right away, Tongkat Ali and Myomin, and you go hear a video how to take it, how to cycle it, and so forth. But those are your two big buzzwords, okay? Tongkat Ali and Myomin, so powerful. Vitamin D, vitamin K, very, very powerful. I will mention, if none of that works, the most powerful thing, which I'm seeing now, is there's this microbiome, these probiotics. Dr. Franco Ruggiero in Italy traveled the world with his wife, and they gathered all of they're like experts in microbiology. They gathered together all of the original microbiome probiotics, and they give you the starter kit for it, and you make a yogurt out of it. And basically with that yogurt, the yogurt creates the microbiome. The bacteria are there. They eat the yogurt. It produces all of these wonderful ingredients. And this is something people can research. One of the proteins produced by this yogurt, which is called Bravo yogurt, which can be imported, the Bravo yogurt, they've done research with I was just speaking at Autism One. Out of 3,000 children with autism, 25% had complete remission within 3 months by restoring the microbiome. So this is, to me, in terms of optimal brain function, healing ADHD, dopamine function, lowering the prolactin that I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, raising the testosterone. Ultimately, a healthy gut is an amazing solution. But in the meantime, just to balance the hormones, the Tongkat Ali, the Myomin has been tremendously helpful. I would also do vitamin D3. I would do vitamin C. I would do vitamin E. I recommend wonderful full vitamin spectrums on my website. There are others. I'm not the only person. I'm just recommending this stuff to people, what I have seen to work. Let me give you an example of what vitamin supplementation does. If it's the right kind of vitamins, the right quality of vitamins, there was a school on the East Coast of children who were the lowest performing children. This is from a PBS special. And all they did basically is educate the children on good diet, which you can do that. We've all been educated, but do we follow it? That's one thing. But they gave them 2 multivitamins, chewable multivitamins every day. They're not your average ones. They have these ingredients called OCPs along with all of the vitamins and high quality vitamin. And what does it mean high quality? You can get vitamin E tocopherol, doesn't do anything. You can do vitamin E tocotrienol, and that's the expensive stuff, and it does something. You can get vitamin C ascorbic acid. It will do nothing. You do vitamin C ascorbate, and now it will be assimilated by your body and utilized by your body. So you need high quality combined with these food extracts called OCPs, which give the brain focus, produce dopamine, and the children went from the lowest performing school, public school in the East Coast, to one of the highest performing, and in some categories, the highest performing. They've been doing this for 10 years. Every day, every child gets 2 of these chewables. That particular product is called Potential. Even though it's geared for children, it's what I take. It's fantastic. It keeps my brain focused when I'm reading. I comprehend, I relax, I take in the information. What a difference vitamin supplementation makes if it's the right kind of vitamins. Herbal supplementation can make. But along the line, we have to keep in mind detoxification is so important. So I'll come back to one of my key things. If you want to increase your sperm count once or twice a week, go on a diet of water and lemon and aloe vera. You can buy good aloe vera or just water and lemon, or you want to follow some other protocol, that's fine. And you will experience a dramatic change within a few weeks. I mean, this is easy stuff, particularly for men, and we're talking about sperm count. For women, it's a little harder to go without eating, but men were designed for it. We've been doing it for thousands of years. When you're on the hunt, you don't eat till you make the kill, so you keep going. Our body processes sugar differently, so we can do that. We have the higher muscle content allows us to do that. This is something which is very practical. There's absolutely no danger to it. And you will start increasing your vitality, your energy. You'll be kicking out these xenoestrogens. You can also, while you're doing it, with anything, what I recommend is to take mineral supplementation. So if you're fasting on lemon and water, what you do need is still minerals. The minerals to take, my recommended minerals come from Germany, which are called, they're bonded to a substance in mother's milk, uric acid. So if you take minerals and you bond them to mother's milk, what happens is the minerals actually can be assimilated into your brain. As far as I'm concerned, all your other mineral supplements do very little. They have some effect, but they don't get into the brain, and that's where you want this stuff to get to, because it's your brain that sends the message to the testicles in order to make the sperm, to make the testosterone. And to bypass a lot of these hormonal imbalances, the brain can correct it. But we need the minerals to get into the brain. So what they found is that only if your food has the minerals in it. You see, your soil has to have microorganisms that eat the minerals, poop out another substance that now the plants absorb. They then produce another substance, which is a mineral that will go through your brain. Mineral supplements generally don't, but Dr. Hans Nieper in Germany discovered that if you take mother's milk and bond it with minerals in the soil, that it will become a form that will be easily assimilated by your body and by your brain, and you only need low-dose minerals. You don't have to take these huge amounts of minerals that just go through your body.
So the 2 points, I'm listening to this information, and I'm so glad it will be recorded so that people can re-listen to it. But the part that my little antenna went up is, what a way, right away, to bring awareness to a man's state of balance. If you're having erection every day, every morning, that is something that we have not heard all week long about. A telltale sign of harmony, right, Sarah? We haven't heard that as a point to look at.
We haven't talked about erections, and I think it's a really good point that men are supposed to have spontaneous erections. When I was at the American Urology Association, we talked a lot about spontaneous erections and the blood flow through the penis as a way of keeping the penis healthy. It's a way of keeping the genitals healthy, because you get a lot of good, healthy blood flow down there. So I do think that's it's a good indicator that if it's not happening, something's happening, something's not working right. And so I would concur that that's a nice little barometer to just, it's a quick check of your sexual health.
Right. And so I think if we were to, we're going to tweet that one for sure, but then follow it up with what you're saying, John.
Make sure you got the morning wood.
Yeah, check yourself in the morning, but the 3 takeaways that would, for the way my brain processes all this amazing information, and I will go back and listen to it again, is, an erection in the morning, and something right away that a man can do is adopt that cleanse once a week.
Yeah, it's so easy to do.
So easy. So to do things, check your erection, start the cleanse, and we'll, of course, direct everyone to your website so that, even to have follow-up information about how you do that, and then to educate yourself on a vitamin, because of, way back when I was in the middle of, our fertility crisis, or process, the herbs that we were given, they were in a way that was a challenge to take. and we have so many advances now that what you're saying, and it's the puzzle pieces of putting them together. So if you're a man listening to this and this is brand new information and a brand new way of looking at yourself, those two things that we mentioned, and then follow it up with vitamins, is a way to take action on this.
I thought that if I was a marketer of Tongkat Ali, which I'm not, although I've searched and found the best brands that are pure and they come from Thailand, a lot of these libido drugs say that libido products online will say they have actual Tongkat Ali in it. I'm just giving a little warning, and actually they just put Cialis in it, which is not increasing your testosterone level. Actually will lower them over time. It should be it's a natural stimulant to help. And I want to mention that there's lots of different ways that studies have shown will increase some levels of testosterone. Nothing comes even close to Tongkat Ali, and it works. But why it's so powerful today is it bypasses this message that the brain, when you have high estrogen, the brain says don't make testosterone, and Tongkat Ali helps to change that message.
So is it a pill or a powder, or how?
It's just a capsule. Take 3 capsules a day, 5 days a week, 2 days off. It's good to cycle it, because you give your body stimulation to do something, and you say, okay, now you do it yourself, and then you come back and do it again, and then you can self-regulate. You just know when to start lowering your dose when you're starting to have waking up in the night with too many erections. That's what happened for me. Mine went back to normal, and I kept it at normal by doing regular cleanses.
So how amazing is this, John? Because so you make these subtle changes and bring awareness, and then you come back to normal, that you're waking up with an erection in the middle of the night, and of course that's going to increase intimacy and then increase communication. It's so important, I think, for my soapbox is self-care, men taking self-care, and what is the immediate pain to pleasure? The pleasure would be that the sex drive increases and then there's more activity. So I'm grateful for this, because it can be overwhelming when you're listening to all the minerals and the vitamins and what you do, but if you distill it down just to what you just said, I like to say it's easy peasy lemon squeezy, and applicable.
I want to say something else that most men don't know about testosterone. And again, testosterone is linked to sperm count. You need lots of testosterone, which, by the way, you need more zinc in your diet, and that's important because zinc helps make the testosterone, and that's another mineral supplement. Zinc orotate is the best, from my opinion. It's the one that is bonded to mother's milk. However, what they find is that if men work out too much, okay, if you're using your muscles too much, you start having low testosterone. And this was confusing. I remember back in the day, 30 years ago, before we had the internet, I would look at these muscle magazines, and I always wondered why they always had libido pills. Why do these muscle guys need libido pills? And it turns out, then later on I started learning about all this stuff. One of my clients is like one of these world muscle builders, and he could never keep his erection up with his wife. If it was a strange woman or porno, he could do it easily. But when you love someone, oxytocin lowers your testosterone, and if you already have low testosterone, it's just there's no sexual drive. So unless it's porno or some new person you don't know. And that's a revelation as well, because some men say to me, I don't have a problem getting turned on just to my wife. And I go, well, nobody has a problem if you're a guy getting turned on to porno. It's the real test of testosterone is when you're in the presence of a real person. That's going to increase some estrogen, increase some oxytocin, and that will lower your testosterone to ideally to normal. Like I just spent the weekend with a bunch of guys, and we went to the Warriors game, and we're all rah, rah, rah. I come home to my wife. The first thing I want is to have sex. Sex then brings my testosterone back down to normal, because men get pumped up in their work. Sex is a way of bringing it back down. The warriors in the old days, they'd come back from war and they bring the virgins, which meant young women, to have sex with them to make them civilized again. So to bring the whole thing back into balance. So there's functions of all of this. But if you're working your muscles too much, your body uses up the testosterone to make your muscles, and then you end up with less testosterone to make your sperm. So it's important that men don't work out too much. Muscular men often have this problem as well. It's not the only cause, because remember, it's estrogen is the big society thing, high estrogen, xenoestrogens, toxicity that lowers testosterone. But also, if you're working out a lot, building big muscles, it can also lower testosterone. So this one client I had, he's big muscle man. I said, go test your testosterone. He says, I have no problem with testosterone. I said, test it. He had 0 testosterone because all of his testosterone was used up to make his muscles. So men have to watch that they don't overwork out. And another aspect of rebuilding testosterone, I speak at conferences of doctors and I say, you know, you're all giving testosterone to men who have low testosterone. Have you ever asked the question, how to make testosterone? Do any of you know how your body makes testosterone? Well, some knew that you needed zinc, you need vitamin A, but here's what allows the body to make testosterone is to use it up, working hard, either mentally or physically, and resting afterwards. It's when a man rests, relaxes, that his testosterone builds up. So this is where stress comes into play. If a man works and he doesn't have a period of relaxation where he's awake but his muscles are relaxed, then his testosterone doesn't rebuild. And that's where stress management is so important. That's in my books I call Men Need Cave Time. Men have this tendency to focus on their work, come home and just do something that seems like a waste of time, but that's actually rebuilding his testosterone. And as far as marriage goes, if a guy feels guilty taking time for himself in a marriage, he doesn't do it. Or even if he does it, if you feel guilty doing it because your wife disapproves of you, that's stress. And you can't rebuild testosterone when you're under stress. Now, men have a mechanism that turns stress off, which is to forget their problems. That's why men are always saying to women, forget it, don't worry about it, let it go, let's just watch the game. You know, this works for men, it doesn't work for women. Men have to have activities to forget their problems, relax, and do something enjoyable. You know, even playing golf. If women go, why is he wasting all this time playing golf? For many men, that's the way they forget all their problems and they rebuild their testosterone. So it has a function. Men worry, why do women talk so much? Why are they having lunch with their girlfriends? Why are they doing these things? Because that's how women rebuild their estrogen oxytocin levels, is doing things to help them relax. So we have to learn how to relax. For thousands of years, men would just come home and meditate. You know, close your eyes, relax, but stay awake. It's a major testosterone rebooster. It lowers stress. When you're stressed, it depletes the brain of minerals. That's why the most important minerals, these minerals for the brain, are essential if we want to relax the brain. And I know we're running out of time, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention the #1 mineral of all minerals designed to lower stress levels in both men and women is lithium. Now, lithium is completely misunderstood because they give toxic doses for people with schizophrenia and bipolar, and it takes away their problem because it gives the brain the mineral it needs, but they give toxic doses, and so there's side effects. Actually, everybody can benefit from lithium, just like magnesium and calcium, potassium and zinc. They're the alkalizing minerals. Lithium is particularly for the brain. It makes your brain chemicals, and you take low-dose lithium orotate. Now, if you take what doctors give, which is prescription, it doesn't work. What works is low-dose lithium orotate, not low-dose lithium carbonate. That will do nothing. That's one of those dead minerals that won't get into your brain. But when you bond a little bit of lithium to mother's milk, it goes into your brain. And you go, well, why? This is bad? No, it's not a drug. It's a normal mineral just like all the other minerals. It just happens to be the most important one we're missing today because we eat junk food. When you eat sugar, you deplete your brain of lithium because it's what metabolizes energy in your brain. So we run low in lithium. So lithium orotate is the cheapest supplement on the internet. There'll never be any big research on it because nobody can make any money on it. $11 for a 2-month supply. Lithium orotate will lower stress levels almost within a day for people. And doesn't change you. It's not a drug. It doesn't alter you. It's just all those invading thoughts that keep repeating just disappear. And you can be present. And it's not the only thing. You know, good omega-3, but it's usually the missing thing. If somebody's got a good diet and they're taking care of themselves and they're still stressed, it's usually the missing element that will immediately fill in the puzzle piece and you go, yes.
Well, you know what's so wonderful about that is because the brain chemistry, of course, for women, you know, when you're taking the hormonal treatment necessarily for the fertility treatment, it is that constant mind chatter that is so interrupting for the whole day. And that causes communication problem between the partners because one, like you just said, the wife gets into that broken record loop about the situation and and I'm generalizing, and the man says just forget about it for a little while, but forget about it. But organically, because of the brain chemistry, she really can't forget about it for a minute because of what's happening.
That's called, I call it the repetitive thoughts. Repetitive thoughts, they go around and around. Now, the hormone that the body makes that stops that is oxytocin. Oxytocin is after you have a climax. If you're a woman, that's when your oxytocin is released. You go, oh, there's this moment of relaxation. That's oxytocin. Oxytocin is proven to lower stress, and the only substance known that I've been able to find in 10 years of looking at research to create that's necessary to it that will increase oxytocin in women is lithium orotate. So lithium orotate increases oxytocin in women. It binds with the receptor sites in the brain that help to produce something called anandamide, which is kind of the bliss hormone in the brain. So this is simply, we should all have it. It's just that when we eat these high carbohydrates, we get a shot of it and then it disappears. Yeah. And we deplete the lithium, which is necessary to keep making it. So
listen to what today. So what you just said is so amazing and empowering, because if you have a man who starts being mindful if he's having his morning erection, right, that's going to help the women, because that means they'll be more apt to have intimacy in the morning, which would give her that boost that she needs. So,
let me put another context here, okay? Women can only respond sexually if they already have oxytocin. Then a man's sexual interest raises it to a higher level and releases it. So actually sex releases oxytocin. So in the beginning of a relationship, there's lots of sex because women anticipate getting what they need. When you anticipate getting what you need, you don't even have to get what you need, and you still make lots of oxytocin. Okay. But then when you realize you're not getting everything you need, when the sort of the fantasy disappears, you're very depleted in oxytocin, and that causes sex drive to drop in women. And let me correct something. And just because you have an erection every morning doesn't mean you have sex every morning. I'm not recommending sex every morning.
No, I'm not either. I'm not saying that. But
let me say, some men think that if they have an erection, they have to release it. I go, that's called addiction. You don't have it will go. Just walk to the shower. It will go away. You don't have to release it every time you have an erection.
Well, thank you so much for this amazing amount of information, and we are so ecstatic that you're with us. And of course, listeners have been seeing how they can get in touch with you directly, and I love your newsletter. So I encourage people to visit your website and sign up for your newsletter, and follow up with the information that you shared, and re-listen to this topic. And we're grateful for your insight and your years of experience and your eloquent way of sharing it.
Are there any other ways to either get in touch with you or to learn more in depth about the herbs and the vitamins and minerals that you've recommended? Are they all on MarsVenus.com, or are there other things that we should be sharing?
Thanks so much for asking. At MarsVenus.com, there's a lot of information there, so sometimes people can't find it. Because I have lots of relationship blogs. My daughter, my youngest daughter, who's now 30 years old, or 29 years old, she has amazing, fun blogs on relationships. But if you go to the link that says health, you'll come up to over 100 health conditions, and click any of them, and you'll get a 10-minute video from me. And any of the things I've talked about, if you go to shop, you can go to the health food store, and it's a unique health food store in that there's all these different products, but I do a video on every one and what the ingredients are and why I recommend that particular one. So at least you get some education along the way. Some people just go to the store and they just listen to one after another and go, oh, that's what vitamin A is good for. Oh, that's what vitamin D is good for. Oh, that's a Chinese herb that will actually raise my testosterone. And you can just click on the videos on those. And there's one on lithium orotate, which is just such a great one. It's probably the most popular substance that people keep getting again and again and again.
Thank you so much. We're so grateful, and we'll be sharing this time together well after the summit. So thank you.
You have a beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you.